My name's Tony Platt. I'm a music producer and recording engineer. I came into the industry quite a few years ago, 40 odd years ago. I started as a T-boy and then became a tape operator or assistant engineer and worked my way up to engineer and eventually as producer. Currently, I am still practicing in music industry, but I'm also involved in music industry education. And I'm also involved with James, which is the music industry education liaison that's owned by the Music Producers Guild and the Association of Professional Recording Services, but also incorporates support from Plaza and UK Screen, BASCA, IASIG, which is one of the gaming industry bodies. And I'm sure I've forgotten somebody, but there are other people involved. And the courses at Derby are accredited by James. James came about because both the Music Producers Guild and the Association of Professional Recording Studios had education initiatives, but they were rather sort of too closely connected with the professional representation part of what those two organisations do. So a few of us decided it would be a good idea to separate this out and form a separate company. So we formed James, Joint Audio Media Education Support, as a separate company, and it's co-owned by APRS and MPG. And the main thing that we set it up to do initially was to administer the accreditation process that we already had running. At that time, there were 2 or 3 courses that were accredited in the country. Now there are 28 courses, and that's a growing number year on year. Effectively, what we do is we go in, we act as a support network for the course team and the faculty. What we want to do is to try and ensure that the courses that are accredited are relevant to industry practice. But most of all, our major consideration is towards the students. What we want to make sure is that when the students take on a course, that the course is properly described in the course descriptors, so when the students go there, they're going to get what they expect. And whilst they are there, that they are given the support that's necessary, they're given the tuition that is relevant to the areas that they want to cover. And what we're increasingly trying to do is to sort of square the circle at the other end when they come out again. And you know, we've unfortunately had a situation where successive governments have been pushing people into graduate education without any thought for what happens at the other end of that process. There's not a great deal of support there. We've now got a lot of focus being put on vocational FE education with apprenticeships and the like. To support those students. The more cynical amongst us might suggest that that's just to get the jobless figures down, but there's not enough emphasis being played at the moment, as far as we're concerned, on postgraduate results and what happens to graduates once they leave. So we're looking at trying to encourage government and find ways and encourage ways for proper paid internships to be available for postgraduates. Well, we like the idea of postgraduate education. In fact, we do accredit a couple of master's degrees. But we very much also like the idea of students either taking their 3rd year out in industry and then going back to complete their graduate education. Or if they're going to go on and do postgraduate study, that they should have at least a year in industry before they go and undertake that. Because it isn't really relevant in a creative environment such as the one we're talking about, you know, music and those sort of careers. It's not really relevant to become a career student, as it were. I think my main advice to students on the courses here is the moment you start the course, consider yourself to be in the music industry. Start crafting yourself opportunities. Start actually, if you're on a music production course or a recording technology course or something like that, start recording. start using these facilities. You know, I mean, one of the sad reflections that we find when we go around to a lot of universities is that they've got wonderful studios like this that are not used to capacity. You know, I'd make the point that whilst you're actually on the course, the 3 years that you're on the course, you've got access to free studios. Go out and find artists that you might like to record and get on and record them, because that's going to start your career. It's very, very possible that by the time you graduate and leave the university, you may be in a situation where you've got a great relationship going with an emerging artist that you've been in on the basic level of recording, and you've just started your career at that point in time. And also the other thing that I would point out is that look around for opportunities where you can get involved in something that has something to do with the music industry. It doesn't matter whether it's exactly the area that you want to go into, just as long as it's got something to do with the music industry. And form collaborations, form friendships. You know, the friendships and network that you create now can end up being very much a backbone of how you go forward in the future. And most of all, keep having enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is just so important.